Once in a quiet village nestled between green hills and shimmering lakes lived a gentle old man known as Appa. He had silver hair tied in a knot, a neatly kept beard, and wore a weathered cream kurta with a humble dhoti. Though his lands were calloused from years of labor, they held the grace of someone who had mastered the art of simplicity. Each morning, just as the mist began to lift and the birds announced the sun's arrival, Appa would rise, lift a wooden yoke across his shoulders, and walk to the river. On either end of the yoke hung two clay pots tied carefully with rope. One pot was perfect, smooth, symmetrical, and strong. The other had a long crack running down its side, chipped slightly at the rim. It leaked a steady trickle of water every time Appa walked. Children often watched him pass, fascinated by the way he carried water with such quiet dignity. But there was one child who followed him with more than curiosity: Meera, his granddaughter. Meera was 10 with a long black braid, bright eyes, and a head full of questions. She had come to live with Appa after losing her parents in a storm that swept through a nearby village. Though cheerful at times, she often carried a quiet sadness with her, the kind only someone who had felt too much too soon could understand. One morning, as Appa returned from the river, water glistening on his arms, Meera tugged at his kurta. "Appa," she asked gently, "why do you still use the cracked pot?" Appa paused. He looked at the pot, its surface stained from years of use, yet still swinging loyally from his yoke. "Come," he said, "let's walk the path together." And so they did. As they walked, Meera noticed the trail. On one side, dry earth stretched with little more than dust and stone. On the other side, where the cracked pot had dripped for years, wildflowers bloomed. Bright yellows, purples, and oranges. Butterflies fluttered through them and bees danced among the petals. Meera gasped, Did the cracked pot do this?" Appa nodded, eyes twinkling. "Let me tell you a story. Long ago, in another village lived a water bearer. Each day he carried two pots on a wooden pole just like Appa. One pot was flawless, proud of how full it stayed. The other, cracked along one side, was ashamed of its imperfections. Every time the water bearer walked from the river to the house, the cracked pot leaked, arriving half empty, convinced it was a failure. One day the cracked pot spoke up, its voice trembling. "I'm so sorry. I leak water every day. I have failed you." The water bearer smiled kindly. "Tomorrow I want you to notice the path we walk. Just observe." The next day, as they walked, the cracked pot did as asked. It saw something it had never noticed before: a trail of vibrant flowers blooming on its side of the road. "You see," the water bearer said, "I knew you leaked, so I planted flower seeds along your side. Every day you watered them. Thanks to you, we have beauty, color, and joy." The cracked pot began to glow, not from being fixed, but from being understood. Appa turned to Meera. "Not all flaws are failures. Sometimes they are gifts in disguise." Meera was quiet for a while. She looked at the cracked pot and then at the blooming path. "Appa," she asked softly, "do you think I'm cracked too?" Appa knelt down, placing the yoke gently on the ground. He cupped her face in his warm, wrinkled hands. "All of us are, Meera. Some cracks come from loss, some from fear, some from trying too hard, but they don't make you less. They make you human." Her eyes filled with tears, but this time they didn't sting, they softened. "I miss them," she whispered. "I know," Appa replied. "But look at you, you still laugh, you still draw in your diary, you still help me fetch water even with your crack. You bloom." They sat in silence, watching the flowers sway in the breeze. Seasons passed. Meera grew not just in height but in heart. She began helping Appa with more chores. Sometimes she would walk the path alone, always taking the cracked pot. She started planting more seeds. Wildflowers weren't the only thing blooming anymore. Her smile returned, slow but sure. One afternoon, a group of travelers came through the village. Tired and dusty, they sought shelter and water. Meera, without hesitation, guided them to the well. She filled the pots, cracked one included, and carried them to the resting spot beneath the banyan tree. One of the travelers, noticing the dripping pot, chuckled, "That pot is broken, little one." Meera turned, eyes bright. "Maybe, but look behind you." They turned. The entire trail behind them was a tapestry of color. Flowers, bees, birds, life. The man said nothing, only nodded in respect. Years passed again. Appa grew older. He stepped slower. One winter evening, as the sun dipped into the horizon, he handed the yoke to Meera. "It's yours now," he said. She took it, not just the wood or the pots, but the story. Meera became a storyteller. She would gather children beneath the old tree and share tales of cracked pots, imperfect heroes, and how every flaw can carry a purpose. The children listened, their eyes wide, their hearts open, and whenever someone felt broken, they would remember the girl with the cracked pot who helped white flowers bloom. The moral of this story is what we see as weakness may carry hidden strength. Every flaw has a purpose, and every crack lets light and water through. Embrace your path even if it drips.